Welcome to the Illinois State Board of Elections educational series on election crimes. This video is on felonies. Any person who knowingly gives, lends, or promises to give or lend any money or other valuable consideration to any other person to influence such person to vote or to register to vote, or to influence such other person to vote for or against any candidate or public question to be voted upon at any election shall be guilty of a Class 4 felony. Any person who, in order to influence any other person to vote or register to vote, or to vote for or against any candidate or public question to be voted upon at any election, knowingly promises to cause or support the employment or appointment of any other person to any public office or public position, or perform or refrain from performing any official act shall be guilty of a Class 4 felony. Any person who votes for or against any candidate or public question in consideration of a gift or loan of money or any other valuable consideration, or for any promise to cause or support the employment or appointment of any person to any public office or public position shall be guilty of a Class 4 felony. Any person who, by force, intimidation, threat, deception, or forgery, knowingly prevents any other person from registering to vote or lawfully voting, supporting or opposing the nomination or election of another person for public office, or any public question voted upon at any election, shall be guilty of a Class 4 felony. Any person who, having voted once, knowingly on the same election day, where the ballot or machine lists any of the same candidates and issues listed on the ballot or machine previously used for voting by that person, files an application to vote in the same or another polling place, or accepts a ballot or enters a voting machine, except to legally give assistance pursuant to the provisions of the election code, shall be guilty of a Class 3 felony. However, if a person has delivered a ballot or ballots to an election authority as a vote-by-mail voter, and due to a change of circumstances is able to and does vote in the precinct of his residence on election day, they shall not be deemed to be in violation of this code. Any person who knowingly destroys, mutilates, defaces, falsifies, forges, conceals, or removes any record, register of voters, affidavit, return of statement of votes, certificate, tally sheet, ballot, or any other document or computer program which is used to be preserved for use in connection with registration, or is used to be preserved for use in connection with any election pursuant to this election code, except as permitted by provisions of this code, shall be guilty of a Class 4 felony, and shall also be ineligible for public employment for a period of 5 years immediately following the completion of his or her sentence. Any person who tampers with any machine or device used in connection with voting or the counting of votes, or who knowingly allows another to tamper with such a machine or device so as to interfere with the proper operation of such machine or device, or to alter the results recorded on such machine or device, or intended to be recorded thereon, or to place votes on a machine which are not legally cast, shall be guilty of a Class 4 felony. Any person who, prior to, during, or after the counting of ballots, or prior to, during, or after the final certification of the vote of any election, knowingly places anything other than a ballot in the ballot box, as or mixes a forged ballot with the other ballots, or as or mixes a forged application to vote with other applications to vote, shall be guilty of a Class 4 felony. Except as permitted by the election code, any person who knowingly marks his ballot or casts his vote on a voting machine or voting device so that it can be observed by another person, and any person who knowingly observes another person lawfully marking a ballot or lawfully casting his ballot on a voting machine or voting device shall be guilty of a Class 4 felony. Any person who makes a false statement material to the issue or point in question, which they do not believe to be true, in any affidavit, certificate, or sworn oral declaration required by provision of the Election Code, shall be guilty of a Class 3 felony. Any person who is convicted of violating this section shall be ineligible for public employment for a period of 5 years immediately following the completion of his sentence. For the purpose of this subsection, public employment shall mean any elected or appointed office created by the Constitution or laws of the state or any ordinance of a unit of local government. Public employment shall also include any position as an employee of the state of Illinois or a unit of local government or school district. A person is guilty of a Class 3 felony who knowingly solicits another person, knowing that the person is not legally qualified to vote as a vote-by-mail voter, to apply for a vote-by-mail ballot, solicits another person, knowing that the person is not legally qualified to vote as a vote-by-mail voter, to cast a ballot as a vote-by-mail voter, intimidates or unduly influences another person to cast a vote-by-mail ballot in a manner inconsistent with the voter's intent, or marks or tampers a vote-by-mail ballot of another person, or takes a vote-by-mail ballot of another person in violation of Section 19-6, so that an opportunity for fraudulent marking or tampering is created. If someone who is not a U.S. citizen is convicted of voting or other election crimes, they may be deported. In general, Class 4 felonies carry 1 to 3 year prison terms. Class 3 felonies can carry 2 to 5 year prison terms.